Shalom. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to do Deuteronomy chapter 15. We're continuing on. Again, this is Moses reciting the history of Israel, God's work with all of Israel, and also reciting the laws that God has given them. These are his final days or his final moments before he dies. And he is reiterating all of the laws of God and all of the history of God with Israel. And they're standing on the eastern bank in what is called the plains of Moab. And after he recites this, will be at the end of the book of Deuteronomy, he will go up on Mount Pisgah. There he will die, and God will bury him, it says in Deuteronomy, and no one knows where Moses' grave is, even to this day. But then Joshua will lead them across the Jordan and begin conquering the promised land. So here we are in Deuteronomy chapter 15, standing on the plains of Moab on the eastern side of Jordan. And let's listen to what Moses says. And at the end of every 7 years, this is verse 1, chapter 15, at the end of every 7 years, you are to have a Shemitah. Here is how the Shemitah is to be done. Every creditor is to give up what he has loaned to his fellow member. A Shemitah, by the way, is the seventh year, a seventh year Sabbath, okay? And that's what it means. At the end of every 7 years, you're supposed to have this kind of special ceremony where the creditor is to give up what he's loaned to his fellow member of the community. He's not to force his neighbor or relative to repay it. So, because it's Adonai's time of remission has been proclaimed. You may demand that a foreigner repay his debt, but you are to release your claim of whatever your brother owes you. That's a fellow Israelite. In spite of this, there will be no one needy among you. Pay attention to this right here. In spite of this, there will be no one needy among you, because Adonai will certainly bless you in the land which Adonai your God is giving you as an inheritance to possess. If only you will listen carefully to what Adonai your God says, and take care to obey all these mitzvot I'm giving you today. Yes, Adonai your God will bless you as he promised you. You will lend money to many nations without having to borrow, and you will rule over many nations without their ruling over you. If someone among you is needy, one of your brothers, in any of your towns in your land, which Adonai your God is giving you, you are not to harden your heart or shut your hand from giving to your needy brother. No, you must open your hand to him and lend him enough to meet his need and enable him to obtain what he wants. Guard yourself against allowing your heart to entertain the mean-spirited thought that because the seventh year, the year of Shemitah, is at hand, you would be stingy toward your needy brother and not give him anything. For then he may cry out to Adonai against you, and it will be your sin. Rather, you must give to him, and you are not to be grudging when you give to him. If you do this, Adonai your God will bless you in all your work and everything you undertake. For there will always be poor people in your land. That is why I'm giving you this order. You must open your hand to your poor and needy brother in your land. If your kinsman, a Hebrew man or woman, is sold to you, he is to serve you for 6 years, but in the 7th year, you are to set him free. Moreover, when you set him free, don't let him leave empty-handed, but supply him generously from your flock, threshing floor, and winepress. For what Adonai your God has blessed you with, you are to give to him. Remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and Adonai your God redeemed you. That is why I'm giving you this order today. But if he says to you, I don't want to leave you, because he loves you and your household, and because his life with you is a good one, then take an awl and pierce his ear through right into the door, and he will be your slave forever. Do the same with your female slave. Don't resent it when you set him free, since during his 6 years of service, he has been worth twice as much as a hired employee. Then Adonai your God will bless you in everything you do. All the firstborn males in your herd of cattle and in your flock are to set aside for Adonai, excuse me, you are to set aside for Adonai your God. You're not to do any work with a firstborn from your herd or shear a firstborn sheep. Each year you and your household are to eat it in the presence of Adonai your God in the place which Adonai will choose. But if it has a defect, is lame or blind or some other kind of fault, you are not to sacrifice it to Adonai your God. Rather, eat it in your own property. The unclean and the clean alike may eat it, and like gazelle or the deer. Just don't eat its blood, but pour it out on the ground like water. Again, if you notice, this chapter mostly talks about generosity, and it talks about the seventh year Sabbath, which means at the end of 7 years, anybody that's your slave is supposed to be set free, unless he wants to stay. It's also interesting that this early writing became the basis for why, when the United States of America, which was then colonies, was being settled by European settlers, mostly from England, there was such a thing as indentured servitude. And you spent 7 years as an indentured servant when you came over to the New World. And at the end of 7 years, you earned your freedom and you were set free. My ancestor, who came to the Jamestown colony, was an indentured servant, and at the end of 7 years was set free. So that's the basis of 7 years. And you're supposed to do this, he said. And when you give this guy who used to be your slave, where you get all this free labor from, you're not supposed to be resentful about this. You're supposed to be grateful for the fact that he worked for you, and you got all these good things because of him. And you're supposed to give him parts of your flock and your wine press and your grain. You're supposed to equip this guy so he can go out and make a living and not be resentful of that, but instead be grateful and always remember your identity. I too once was a slave, and God redeemed me, and now I'm repeating in this man's life or this woman's life what God did in my life. That's a powerful lesson to learn, don't you think? Gratitude.